We are giving you an update now with my colleague Barry Bateman regarding the Moti family developments as well as that kidnapping saga. So, the Moti family is gone for good. That is according to several sources, including people close to the family. 4 siblings were kidnapped last year before being released 3 weeks later. Now, last Sunday, eNCA revealed that the family had interdicted the police from having any contact with the children or even the family members, and that they'd relocated to Dubai. Now, with details of the exit from South Africa, and to tell us more about that is eNCA senior reporter Barry Bateman. Barry, it's always a pleasure speaking to you. It's really an interesting development that we've seen so far. Where are we at? What do we know now?
Well, let me take you through a bit of a timeline. Let's set the scene for how we ended up with this latest information that we've got. So on the 20th of October, we had that kidnapping that took place that gripped the country. Everyone was worried about these 4 brothers that were taken at gunpoint, snatched and disappeared. There were pictures that were circulated. The police, responded with a high-level team of investigators at provincial level, national level. They went out to try and find these boys. What we know, and we discussed this last week, is that very early on the police were excluded from that investigation. They played no role in the subsequent release of that boys. We understand a company from the UK was brought in and they handled those negotiations. Then on the 20th of November, the boys are released. This is exactly 3 weeks, because they were kidnapped on a Wednesday. Exactly 3 weeks later, the boys are released. We understand from reports that a ransom of 50 million rand was paid to secure their release. Now, in that intervening period, from some time after that, we know that an interdict was obtained, that this was to stop the police from interviewing the 4 boys or any other family member of the Motis. Now what we know, and this has got to do with their departure. You must remember around about that time, Omicron hit the country, hit the globe actually, but first discovered or identified in South Africa. 27th of November, Dubai imposes a travel ban on South Africa.
Got you.
So on the 1st of December, and we've confirmed this from our sources, 1st of December, the 6 Moti family members depart on a Kenya Airways flight to Nairobi, because they couldn't get into Dubai directly. They went to Nairobi. We understand they spent some time there before making that final jump across to Dubai. Now, what we understand as well is, I mean, this just gives you an indication of how keen they were or desperate to get into Dubai, that they couldn't wait until travel ban. They had to leave, and they went via another country to get into there. What we know now, or understand to be the case, is that the children are already in school in Dubai, that is the degree of settlement that they're going to over there. There is no intention of them coming back to South Africa.
Barry, the timeline that you're giving, the intention behind the actual relocation to Dubai, it raises many questions about the surrounding circumstances of that kidnapping. I would think any normal parent would want to come forward with the story, or would want their children to have some kind of closure. Their idea of closure is fleeing or relocating to Dubai. And at this moment in time, do we know if it's they fled or if they actually relocated? Because fleeing implies that there's so much more to the story that meets the eye, and then relocating means perhaps they just want a fresh start. Are they fleeing, Barry? Or have they fled, or have they relocated?
I think it's a very important question. And perhaps if we go back into this timeline, I can give you a little bit more information, which I'd actually heard weeks ago, but it is now being reported on, is that after the boys were released, now remember I told you that the police were excluded through that whole negotiation process. They were excluded very early on. This frustrated investigators. Remember, there's a high-level team that was put together to handle this matter. Now they're being shut out. The boys were released, and they continue to shut out the investigators. What we now know is that the police secured a search and seizure warrant for the house of the Motis in Polokwane, and they executed that raid. And we understand that they seized several devices and other evidence that they gathered from the family. Now, this then speaks to the possibility of why they obtained that interdict. So you have the police execute a search and seizure raid, then you have this interdict to stop the police from conducting any further questioning of the children or any members of the family, and you remember that was obtained on an ex parte basis. So they put a stop to that. The police felt excluded, they got a search and seizure warrant, we get an interdict, and they leave the country. So did they flee or have they relocated? I suppose we're going to have to still find out.
But of course, this is like the Moti family. From what we understand is that it's not just one member of the family. They've got about brothers. They've got the Moti Brothers. It's a huge family. Has the entire family now relocated to Dubai? Is it only the husband or the father of the 4 boys as well as his immediate family? How many of the Motis are in Dubai at this stage? Do we know? Have they all left South Africa?
The records that we have seen show that the family of 6, the mom, dad, and the 4 boys who were kidnapped, they left South Africa on the 1st of December.
Sure.
And we understand that they have set up there to the point that the children are even going to school. They haven't gone back to school. Remember, they were in a private school. Kuro was out also appealing for public support at the time. They're not back in South Africa in that school.
And just in terms of police, what do we know so far from them? Have we gotten any form of details from them, any form of opening? I saw that there was another revelation last week, and you'll be able to attest to this, saying that the police, the record of that interdict, for example, was nowhere to be seen or nowhere to be found. That also raises another question around, where's the interdict? You know, so what do we know so far around that developing story?
Yeah, I've been speaking to the National Police spokesperson who confirmed that the interdict was granted, and I've been asking him for a copy of that interdict. Otherwise, give us a date and a judge and we can go find it ourselves. And he's saying, and he needs to get it from the people that were interdicted, so the investigators, they're refusing to hand it over. Now, I saw there was an editorial piece this week saying that, and it was in the Sowetan, saying that this doesn't help the police's case if they're being so secretive about this. What I suspect, and I mean, this is just my speculation on the matter, is the police don't want to hand over that interdict because the Moti family probably go into details of that search and seizure warrant, which until now has now been made public. So I suspect that they don't want that, or there could be something damaging in the order, because a judge would go into details as to how he led to his decision ultimately, and those details might be embarrassing or potentially damaging for the police.
Very quickly, how's the family responded?
They haven't. That's the problem. Their spokesperson, who we initially were dealing with, now tells me that she no longer has a mandate. There's another person that was supposedly appointed, Mr. Osman. He says he's not a family spokesperson, but he says he understands the family is going to be issuing a comprehensive statement sometime soon.